Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's special MPO Policy Committee meeting. Today's date's February 8, 2022. The approximate time, it looks like it's 1:35. We're actually in the City of Laredo Council Chambers, 1110 Houston Street, here in Laredo, Texas. Obviously, welcome to the people that are watching online as well. Thank you. We're going to go ahead and start with a chairperson to call meeting to. I'm going to call the meeting to order. I'm sorry, and if we could get the roll call, please.
Yes, thank you. Ms. Briones will call roll.
Good afternoon. Mayor Pete Sines.
He is present. He is just having to do a couple minutes in the back.
Judge Tano Tijerino.
Present.
Councilmember Ruben Gutierrez.
Present.
Commissioner Jesse Gonzalez. Councilmember Dr. Marte Martinez. Commissioner John Galo. Councilmember Vanessa Perez. Mr. David Salazar.
Present.
Mr. Humberto Tito Gonzalez.
Present. So
You do have a quorum.
there is a quorum. Thank you so much for the people that are here and attentive. Motion to excuse the people that are not here. Motion second. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Let's go ahead and start with item number 3, citizens' comment. I do have a gentleman by the name of Mr. Jose Ceballos. Hello, Miss. Can I just have for the record, to reflect that Mrs. Perez is here, Councilwoman Perez is here.
Judge, I'm going to wait for the item to be called up so it's recorded as public testimony under that item.
Very well. That sounds even better. No problem at all. Which we could do that because, just FYI for the public should know, there is an open, we do have a 10-day open period, so Mr. Ceballos would like to wait for that item to come across. Okay, let's go ahead and go to item number 4. Items requiring policy committee action. Receive public testimony, item 4A. Receive public testimony and approve resolution number MPO 2022-02, adopting the following proposed amendments in the 2021-2024 Transportation Improvement Program TIP. Mr. Ceballos, and if I could have the record to reflect that Commissioner Gonzalez is present as well. Mr. Ceballos, I'm sorry, which number did you want? That's why I won't miss you, sir. I apologize for.
And we could have 4B1.
4B1? Okay, let's go ahead and,
And I would ask that the public hearing be opened.
additional, is this one, Mr. Mendiva, is this one already open?
So we had initiated a 10-day comment period.
Yeah.
But we're receiving public testimony here today, so we could open a public hearing for this specific meeting.
So do you need it for the actual 4A, 1 through 14?
Yeah, so we could open a public hearing and close, and then you all can take action.
Okay, so move to open a public hearing for item 4A, 1 through 14. Can I get a second, please? Second. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and I'll start with my comments. And this is just something for the record that I would like to go ahead and add. I know that the City of Laredo, with all due respect on what I'm fixing to say, have done multiple studies. The latest study that has been done, and please, if I am walking or going the wrong direction, I'd like for Mr. Mendiva or somebody to bring me back in, okay? So the City of Laredo International Bridge System Master Plan, that's what it's called. The latest was, if I could have the record show that Mr. Mayor Pete Sines is here present with us as well, and he'll be sharing this. How you doing, Mayor? Thank you. We are in item 4A, and we have just opened up the testimony for public testimony 1 through 14, and I am in the middle of I'm going to just state some things. Sure. I know the City of Laredo, I think this is their third one that they have done as far as a master plan is concerned. And the latest one, the one that I have, is from 9/23/2021. And I know that I am a little bit perplexed though on this whole, when it comes to item number 1, as far as the World Trade Bridge expansion. And I have, if you could just indulge me just a little bit, please. You know, after going over that 400 and some odd page report, I came out with some important notes that I kind of condensed. And what I've noticed is number one, this report was never brought to the MPO, which to me, I know the last time I was sat here and it was a little bit ingenuous, I guess, for us to be doing something at the MPO or approving something in the MPO when the report hasn't even got to us. And I know it's on the city's website. That's where I picked it up from. But the point is that I think it would be in the best regards to get somebody to read this master plan of do's and don'ts. And I just kind of want to set it for the record, and that's all I'm doing this for. It's for the record. You know, I'm noticing that on page 201, one of the second bullet point, and this is right off exactly what it says here. This alternative, as far as the expansion of the bridge is what I'm talking about, this alternative does not provide an improvement to reduce congestion at the POE regarding total volume throughput, crossings, and waiting times. You know, I look at this and we're gonna go ahead and spend, or we're going now from $12 million to $16 million. And the city of Laredo, by all means, is doing they're doing their due diligence as far as trying to get infrastructure and make everything a little faster and work a little bit better as far as the Mines Road concerned. But when we're going out there and spending these kind of monies for these kind of studies and then not taking into consideration anything that is being said by these studies, well, I believe that's a shame on us. You know, I don't understand why we keep pushing this when in all reality, these monies can be used for a different point or a different place. You know, case in point, the Laredo Bridge Master Plan was initiated by the city of Laredo, completed September 2021. I just said that, and it's doubling its lane for the world. For example, especially mentioned on page 201, which I just read, you know, and it gives us options. Option A speaks to the expansion of the World Trade Bridge and clearly states in the second bullet point, which I've already read as well. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that as a county judge, I understand that we have different districts and precincts. But as a county judge, I'm just trying to see it from the bird's eye view, not just from one dimension. And I think it's important to understand that Mines Road, you know, these studies, if we're going to spend $400,000 or $500,000 on these studies, and I believe this is not the first one, this is the third or fourth one, if I'm not mistaken, this is the latest one. But if we're not going to take into consideration what these studies say, I think we're doing an injustice to the people of Webb County and to the Laredo, because we're spending monies that maybe we don't need to we don't have to. So I just wanted to state that for the record, and I have a lot of stuff here, and I'm just going off of, I'm not saying any of my opinions. It has nothing to do with my opinion. I'm just going off of having to read, you know, it talks about the new international bridge and, you know, what it's supposed to do, the conceptual cost of it, the major impacts, which I think is great. That's on page 210. And it goes on and it goes on in different stages. And I mean, it's a 410 or 400 and some odd page report, very lengthy, very wordy. But the point is that I just want to state for the record that we just need to be in the MPO setting. We need to be looking at overall, and the city of Laredo has its, you know, I think it's important that they're doing their due diligence for the city, and I agree with that. But when it comes to the MPO, now we're starting to kind of get the muddies a little watered, and I just wanted to clear that up as far as these are concerned. And this is going into my 8th year into the MPO, and I will tell you that we've done some studies, but every time we go out for a study, it seems like those studies, we don't ever get a report back on the latest and greatest on these reports, and I think it's important. We're spending this kind of money. We're here to be very transparent to the people of what we're doing and what we're spending. It's important that we also hear it, and we hear it in front of them. So I just wanted to state that for the record, and that is all I have. Thank you.
I appreciate that very much. Judge, do we have any other comments? It is a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak for or against? Mr. Selke, maybe I can respond to some of the concerns that the judge may have. Do you want to come up, Mr. Sid Milkey? Thank you very much. My recollection is too, when we had the experts or the consultants for the expansion, they did point out those same points, Judge. But if you take it in combination with the fast lanes, I think that's where the efficiency is for the expansion. keep in mind too, this is an issue, and I'm kind of repeating what I said last time, that has been ongoing, I guess, for a number of years. And really the community came to a compromise. If it weren't for this and for the study and for the fast lanes, there's a good chance that 4-5 wouldn't be available, Judge. You know, realistically speaking. So this is a compromise that the community made for the expansion and for the 4-5. Because if the expansion, by way, call it politically or whichever way you want to name it, wouldn't happen, there's a good chance the 4-5 wouldn't happen.
I'm not sure what the 4-5 has to do with the expansion.
Well, I'm telling you, there's a connection there.
I understand
And
you're
this is-
telling me, can you educate me though?
Well, it's, again, keep in mind the competing interests. We had the expansion. The folks, the community was very divided, and it's been divided for years. But luckily and thankfully, you know, we came to that resolution that if the expansion through the fast lanes, you know, we'll have 4 fast lanes, which will make it more efficient. The expansion by itself, you're right. And obviously, I think the people should know that. It was repeated or at least informed when we had the hearings. And all of this area here was full of people. And I would say 50% were expansion, no 4-5. And then the other were 4-5, no expansion.
Well,
So, no, hold on. So in essence, you know, for those projects to both happen, and I would hope that the community once and for all put it to rest. You know, the council spoke, council decided, you know, obviously you've been a proponent of the 4-5, and based on your comments here, you're not too excited about the expansion. But I'm asking you on behalf of the community, you know, for the, you know, the betterment of the community and to settle these issues, and for the people watching. We have people in Washington watching, John. For the people in Austin are watching. We need to get this resolved. This is a community effort here for the development of the 4-5, for the development of the South. We all want the South to prosper, and this will catapult that area in ways that you and I and all of us here know that will happen. And this is why council was you know, approved it. And this is why we also need this 4-5 for that section of the industry that feels that the 4-5 really is the way to go. And yeah, not the 4-5, but also the expansion, I'm sorry. So, you know, only time will tell. You know, if you consider $15 million for the expansion, which is really what the cost of the expansion. Now, the fast lanes, I think it's about 10 billion, more or less. It's just an investment on settling an issue that the community has been struggling and wrestling with for years. And for the sake of the 4-5, which we're all proponents of the 4-5, and for the sake of unity here, Judge, with the county commissioners and you all, you know, let's just put it to rest. You know, you made your points, they were well taken, and that's, you're absolutely correct. But this is possibly maybe the price that the community needs to pay for the 4-5 to, you know, to happen as well. And I say that in the spirit of unity, of bringing the community together, and I think, you know, ultimately, you know, this is good. You know, we need to start, instead of, you know, arguing about still the 4-5 and the expansion, let's be thinking about another bridge somewhere. We'll need another bridge, and it takes years to get to that point. And this is my suggestion, a plea of unity, of putting matters to rest once and for all, and for the sake of the community. People are watching. The fact that we're still arguing about these points is not a good thing. It's not a good thing for the 4-5, and certainly not a good thing for the expansion and for the industry. So I think the industry came together. I know there's remnant groups out there still wanting to divide us. I don't want a division anymore. I'm sick and tired of that. You know, there's plenty of history where we were so divided, lawsuits, money spent, different locations. And that costs money, that's millions of dollars out the window. And it got us nothing except more division. So again, my plea is, let's move forward. Let's put that to rest. You know, we've spoken our piece here, and city council had their opportunity to revisit all of this, and the community came together and revisited, these issues, and we're moving forward on both permits, and we ask your full cooperation as well, the county, the commissioners here, to help us, to help this community, with a 4-5 and with the expansion as well, because that's, in the long run, it's progress, but who's to say that we can't have an efficient system if we get all the exit points out? You know, we can have 16 lanes and the expansion, flowing and efficient. Who's to say we can't have that? If we get CBP on board and everyone's aligned, efficiency can be worked out. And the same thing for the 4-5. So anyway, that's my.
May I finish? Yes.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. With all due respect, Mayor, you're making it sound like if we're in a battle here, and I can honestly ask you a very simple question. When have I ever brought this up publicly?
What's this?
The expansion of the bridge?
Just now? No?
Yes, for the first time, exactly, but you're making it sound like this has been a battle going on.
Well,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I don't want to create more.
Well, I'm just going off of what you're saying.
Yeah, but we're mature enough. I think I understand your point. Hopefully you understand my point too.
I haven't made a point yet, and I'm fixing to make it.
Okay.
So as far as expansion of the bridge, I as a county judge, and I don't have to keep my mouth quiet, I could go ahead and say how I feel about it, and I've never have. And I'm just going off of your studies, off of the studies that are from the studies that you all paid for.
And we acknowledge that, and I've told you that you're absolutely correct. So you don't have to re-emphasize it over and over and over again. We understand it. I agree with you. I think all of us agree with you. And that's my point. Your point is well accepted. Well accepted. Thank you.
May I finish?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So as far as the fast lanes are concerned, I am 100% for the fast lanes. If you could put 10 of them up there, that'd be great. You want to spend the $16 million on the 4 fast lanes, make more of them. I think we need them. But as far as the expansion on the bridge, I still think that it's wasted taxpayer monies. And I am just reading what I'm seeing here, and I take a little offense that you're saying that I keep bringing this up and beating a dead horse, and I'm not. Mayor, with all due respect, as far as the 4-5 bridge, I haven't even brought it up. You have. I haven't brought it up, and I'm not going to bring it up, because there's going to be a time and a place for Webb County to decide what they're going to do and how they're going to handle it. Not the city of Laredo, which has nothing to do with it, because that's not even your lane. The Webb County's lane is a 4-5 bridge. You all could be a part of it, which I have numerous times have asked you all to be a part of it. And that's what I've said since I ran on that platform 8 years ago. And I will continue running on that. Every time I start talking about the 4-5 bridge, it seems like the city of Laredo sometimes starts beating their drums a little bit louder on the expansion. So as far as I'm concerned, it has nothing to do with us. I have not brought up the 4-5 bridge right now. And by the way, if you want me to bring it up, the own studies talk about how much better it is for the 4-5 bridge than the expansion of the bridge. But I haven't brought that up. You did. So I just wanted to state that for the record. And I just wanted to put that out there because I find offensive that now as an MPO board, and like you said it, and you said it 4 times right now when you were giving your speech, the City of Laredo Council totally agree, and I even made that point very clear. The council has decided, but when it gets to this MPO, by no means am I going to be quiet for anybody. I just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
Okay, and I agree with that, Judge. We're public servants and we speak our minds. Thank you. Anyone else? Yeah, Mr. Milky, any thoughts regarding what has been said? I may not want to comment, but yeah, go ahead. Sir.
Sid Milky, Structural Engineering Associates for the record. The purpose that the city brought this project to the MPO is because the rules have changed relative to presidential permitting. And this will apply to any presidential permit that has or will be issued in the coming future. The rules changed via an executive order issued in 2019 in that they changed the way that presidential permit issues were developed. And they put the permit ahead of all the other permitting issues, if you will. Environmental clearance through NEPA was one of those. They took away from the State Department the authority to be the lead agency as the arbiter of the NEPA clearance process for a presidential permit. They did not define, the executive order did not define which agency would be the lead agency. Some years ago, under the auspices of a contract that our firm had with the city of Laredo, we were investigating this change, and it was determined that Federal Highway Administration was the lead agency that was willing to step forward and be the lead agency for the environmental clearance of an international bridge project. The State Department was out of that role. GSA or CBP did not desire to be in that lead role. Those were the four major stakeholders for an international bridge. In order for Federal Highway Administration to be a part of an international bridge project, which is typically a local ownership project, in this case for the World Trade expansion, the city of Laredo, other cases, other cities, other counties, there has to be a methodology for the federal highways to be able to participate. And that methodology was determined in coordination with dealing with federal highways, that a small sum of federal construction money would be assigned to the project. That allowed the Federal Highway Administration then to take the role as the lead arbiter and the lead reviewer of the environmental project, the environmental assessment for the project. That is the main purpose that we have recommended that the city go before the MPO and ask that this project be brought forward to the MPO for consideration and adding it to the TIP, the local TIP, and also the MTP, and also recommending that there will be some funding assigned for it, because that then gives the Federal Highway Administration the authority to participate in the NEPA clearance. It also allows TxDOT to create an AFA with, in this case, the city of Laredo for administering that environmental clearance on a project. And this is the same situation for other international bridges that will be proposed in the coming years, probably. So that's not an unusual, it's different because it's not the way it was done before. And I guess my point is that's the only reason that we've urged the city of Laredo to come before the MPO steering committee and ask for the project to be listed. Obviously, it's good to be listed anyway, but that's why the funding, we've asked that some funding be assigned to it so that FHWA could be participating in the environmental clearance for the project, and TxDOT could also be, through an AFA, be participating in that as well. The other issue that I do want to make a point in, the master plan does say that the bridge itself would not bring any increase in throughput capacity. But we have been looking at not only the bridge, the port on the Mexican side, the fast lanes, the port on the US side. There's the expansion of I-69W going on just beyond the port. All of those things contribute to throughput through a port of entry. So we've been trying to look at all of the pieces of the puzzle. The fast lane was one step. Getting funding for I-69W was another major step that we think will help increase throughput outside the port of entry at World Trade. And again, I agree that the bridge itself, the expansion itself, if nothing else changes, it won't help the port process any more vehicles. But all of the situation, all of the projects that are ongoing, that are planned, that some of are already funded, all of those contribute to the expansion of processing throughput through World Trade Bridge. That's pretty much the comments I have, Mayor.
So conceivably, any other bridge, it may include the 4-5 in the future, we would have to go through the same process, do you think, Mr. Silky?
Bridge 5-4 will require a presidential permit. And as the process exists today, it would be advantageous for the sponsor of that bridge to also come forward to the MPO and request a small amount of construction funding, as is being done today for that bridge as well, so that they can bring in FHWA for the environmental clearance of that project when that time comes.
Okay.
Right now, that's the rules, and that's the agency that has been identified and has stepped forward. And that's the methodology that is in place today to allow them to participate and be the overseer, if you will, of the NEPA process. So yes, any other project right now in the lower valley of Far Reynosa is going through an expansion as well. And they've done the same thing there through their MPO just last year. And so that's bringing FHWA into their process for the environmental clearance of that bridge as well.
Okay.
Mayor, may I ask a question?
Yes, sir, go ahead.
Mr. Milky, while I understand the methodology you just explained to us, and you probably have far more experience in this than will ever attempt to have, I do have one quick question, and I know that we're setting aside $1 million time to get the engineering going on this project to get it on the 4-year plan. It is a $60 million construction project. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I guess the idea is to put it on the list and maybe federal dollars will come down to supplement the $60 million construction. But correct me if I'm wrong, if we go beyond a year and it's not funded, it's gonna drop out of the UTP. We can't list it under this construction funded. So I think this is a time we need to be looking at where's the $16 million gonna come from?
60 million?
$16 million construction.
No, well, the city of Laredo would.
The City of Laredo is stating publicly in the presidential permit application that all of the remaining funds,
come
even
from the
that
city
$1
of-
million will be funded through the City of
Yeah, right.
Laredo on their own.
No, the intention was for the city to fund it
Entirely,
100%.
entirely,
But
100%.
this kind of forced us to go the federal route simply
Right.
to acquire the environmental.
I just wanted to clarify that. I
No,
know
that's
you're
that's
moving
absolutely
dollars.
correct. The city has already identified all that funding, and we're putting that in the presidential permit application, that all the funding will come from the city, except now because we need this little piece of funding to allow FHWA to be the arbiter or the reviewer of the environmental clearance, the NEPA process. That's the only reason we've come to the MPO. Otherwise, the city would have moved forward without coming to the MPO, because there's just no other federal agency out there that has been authorized, has been instructed, or has a reason to be the lead agency to issue the environmental clearance for the project. I mean, that's, I hope that answers your question.
I have a question, Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
So just to kind of clarify, I know Judge Tijerina brought up an excellent point that was written in the master plan, but just to clarify, so what you're saying is that that piece of, I guess, the total expansion, if that piece doesn't happen, then is that gonna delay all the other things that are happening? You said that there's other things in the works that are happening, so is that, if that piece is missing, does it interfere with the overall plan, like, or is that like an integral part to the overall expansion plan?
Councilmember, I will admit I have not read the entire master plan that was prepared for the city of Laredo, so I'm not sure of the methodology that was used, of all of the other criteria that might have gone into that statement. I know from our studies that we have done for the city that there is various issues that affect throughput through an international bridge. And an international bridge is not a free flow of traffic. It's not like a freeway. All the trucks have to come to a stop at least one time, sometimes multiple times, and POVs as well, but in World Trade Bridge, there's no private vehicles there. So that the port of entry, or the toll plaza, if you will, on the other side of the border, that's a stopping point. The primary within the port of entry, on the US side in this case, is a stopping point. The exit control booths are stopping points, but also the free flow of traffic is affected by what roadway surface, how many lanes that the traffic leaves the exit control booth on. It's controlled by the number of lanes on the bridge. It's also controlled by how fast the processing can be done within the port of entry. And CBP has been changing their methodologies over the last 15 or 20 years. FAST didn't exist 8 years ago, 10 years ago. we think that we can take 25% of the existing volume that's processed that mixes together, because the way World Trade Bridge was originally laid out, there was no fast. There was no special treatment. There was no ACE. All trucks had to come together, came to the primary, then they were inspected, and then they were allowed to leave. Now with fast, the trucks can be pre-inspected, the drivers can be pre-certified, all of that information is entered in a computer. They come up, that information is given to the agent in the booth, and they're released. 99.9%, I'm not sure the percentage of all fast traffic is released to exit. This new fast facility has no exit booths. It's all electronic via processes that CBP has related. It will come directly off of the International Bridge. Right now, there's one lane that's dedicated for fast traffic only. The other 3 lanes, inbound or northbound, are mixed, and they all go through the port of entry. And they go through double curve before they get to the primaries, and they're processed, and they go through exit control. And then they go to, and then in the case of I-69W, there was only one lane there prior to 2020. All the trucks had to go over a one-way motion scale due to a state law. When TxDOT opened their construction project to add one lane, they doubled the capacity because that way motion was removed. Now there's 2 lanes that trucks have access to exit the port of entry. So the processing of the exit control has improved just by them actually doing a construction project. And with the fast lanes, we believe we can take about 25% of the existing traffic and more as people sign up, take it out of that flow, which now comes across and mixes together, has to go through traffic that's going to secondary, has to go through traffic that goes through the X-ray, through the VACUS, take it out and put them directly up through the port right on I-69W. So we think 25% is taken out of that volume that's processed today in the port proper, goes straight through. You take that 25% out, you can put 25% more mixed traffic into the port, because we know we can process that much through the port. So at a bare minimum, just talking without having a study behind me, we think we can increase the throughput at World Trade Bridge by 25%. Now, how does that work with the bridge? Why does the bridge need to be expanded? Well, right now, we're concentrating on 8 lanes. 4 lanes going into Mexico, 4 lanes coming in the United States. There's also, when the traffic comes into the United States, they go through a reverse curve. And traffic running through that reverse curve, Mexican drivers, our portage drivers, our drayage drivers, they've turned that 4 lanes into 3 lanes. So they've, in essence, reduced the capacity of that lane going around the corner, where it then flares out into 17 primaries. I don't remember the number. 15. Okay, long story short. Also, traffic, the same volume of traffic that's increasing coming in the United States is going into Mexico. And we have problems backing traffic up all the way to Mines Road and beyond some days because of processing on the Mexican side. So how the bridge comes into play is it creates pathways between the 2 ports of entry, which are actually the controlling issues of how throughput through ports. And so what we believe, by adding the new bridge, we can take the regular traffic and shoot them directly over to the regular primaries that exist today. We can dedicate 2 lanes of the existing bridge straight up into the fast lanes, and then dedicate 6 lanes, which will be an increase of 50% to Mexico, going southbound into Mexico. So that's how the bridge, how we look at the bridge.
But the exit lanes, would you explain that too? We only had 1 exit lane, now we had 3.
Well, right now, and that's another thing, on the I-69 end, right outside the port of entry, we have 5 exit booths now. And before 2020, they all went into 1 lane. Now they're going into 2.
But
And eventually
3,
there's gonna be 3. By the time we finish, the TxDOT finishes the I-69 widening and we finish the fast lane, we'll have a 3rd lane that traffic can exit the port of entry. So over time, we're tripling the capacity of that roadway system going beyond the port of entry. And that's just that piece to Mines Road. And there's many other projects that TxDOT has ongoing beyond that. This MPO, this steering committee is well aware of all the other projects, I'm sure, that are intended to increase the throughput beyond the port of entry, which is the next choke point, if you will, beyond the port of entry. So I agree that the statement in the master plan basically is correct, because the bridge by itself doesn't really affect anything. It facilitates a lot of things, and then other projects that are ongoing will help facilitate additional throughput through the port, which is the intent in essence.
So, if I may,
Yes, sir.
so if you could just clarify for me real quick. So you mentioned a couple of times you have 4 lanes going in, 4 lanes coming out, with 8 in between on the water, right? That's the expansion of the bridge, is that what you wanted to do?
There are 4 lanes on the existing bridge, 4 going
Right
into
now.
Mexico, 4 coming out of Mexico. Yes, sir.
Okay, so the expansion would be adding 4 more lanes, which would be a total of 8 lanes, is that correct?
Right now, the city council's instructions to us would be to add an additional 8 lanes.
8 lanes, so that'll be 12 lanes in total.
It will be 8 and 8,
So
16.
16 lanes in total.
Correct.
So right now, you're saying you have 4 lanes going in. I'm just trying to gather information here. Follow me. 4 lanes going in, 16 lanes on top of the water, 4 lanes coming out. Is that correct?
Right now, we have 4 lanes going into Mexico and 4 lanes coming out of Mexico
Those are on the bridge.
that are on the bridge, at the
Very
bridge,
well.
at the bridge.
I understand what
And
we
then
have
the
now.
intent is to add another 8 lanes.
I understand what we
So
have
we
now.
would have 4, we'll have 2 actually, plus 8. So we'll have 10 coming northbound or inbound from Mexico, and 6 that will be
Going
dedicated
into
southbound into Mexico.
So 4 lanes, how long are the 4 lanes? I mean, do we have an idea, like, when we get out of the World Trade Bridge, how long are 4 lanes all the way up to what, Mines Road or something? Or how, I mean, a quarter of a mile, half a mile, what?
Which 4 lanes?
Well, that's what I was asking you, because you said 4 lanes. Right now, the way we have it is 4 lanes on top of the bridge, on top of the water, and then 4 lanes coming out, right? I didn't realize we had 4 lanes. I thought we only had 2 lanes.
There's 5 exit booths.
Okay.
Right now, there's 2 lanes beyond the exit
So
booths.
coming
on
out of the
I-69.
5 exit booths, and forgive me, I'm just trying to get information. So 5 lanes coming out of the exit booths, how long, those 5 lanes from the exit booths, does it go to 2 lanes, 5 lanes, all the way to Mines Road?
Right now, it goes to 2 lanes.
So then it goes, so that's exactly what I wanted to know. So it's gonna go back to 2 lanes.
It's gonna be 3 lanes when TxDOT finishes their project.
So may I ask you, how does 16 lanes or 18 lanes or 12 lanes or 10 lanes on top of the water are gonna benefit going from 4 lanes to 3 lanes?
Because there's a port of entry in between. That's not a free flow like interstate highway, like any other street.
So it becomes a parking
All the
lot?
traffic has to stop one time.
So it becomes a parking lot over the water?
It's a parking lot today.
Not over the water, though.
Yes, some days
Not
it is.
spending $16 million.
There is.
That's not gonna help.
There is a dedication of lanes that is coming with the expansion right now. There's 1 lane of those 8 that's dedicated inbound for fast traffic only. There's 3 lanes that are mixed inbound, northbound for all other commercial traffic. On the Mexican side, I believe they do 2 and 2, 2 empties and 2 loads. So by pre-aligning the different types of traffic, you can increase the throughput, because the various lanes then, by the fast lane being dedicated, we have all fast traffic. And the speed at which we can process the traffic through the fast lanes, 1 lane, actually 2 lanes are better for 4, just because of the speed of processing. All the other traffic goes to the other port, to the other part of the port, and they will be processed there. If they can be further subdivided down by different types of loads, and I can't speak for CBP because that's part of their processing, but by dedicating lanes to specific types of traffic, that's how we're also able, and that's what the need is also for the expansion, if you will. It allows us to specifically dedicate some of the lanes coming inbound, pretty much 8 new lanes, all to the mixed traffic, 2 lanes directly to the fast lanes, and then we're increasing the capacity going into Mexico by 2 lanes. So they have 6 lanes. So that hopefully creates throughput in both directions, because we don't want to look only in one direction either.
And please understand, what I'm repeating I haven't even started my own opinions yet. What I'm repeating is that every meeting that we've had with the city of Laredo having to do with the expansion of the bridge. That's from the Mexican side, that's from the state of Texas side, and that's from the national side. All of them have stated to us that it's just not gonna work. So all of a sudden now I'm hearing that it's gonna work, and I still don't understand how we're going. If I could guess, I could see it if we had 4 lanes going into the bridge from Mexico side, and then all of a sudden, let's say you tell me, you know what, we're gonna do 16 lanes on the bridge, and then you're gonna have 4 to 8 lanes coming out all the way to 35. Hey, I'd tell you, you know what, you're gonna have a pretty good speed of traffic flowing. But right now, all I'm still hearing is that it goes from 2, now you're saying 4, let's just say 16 over the water lanes, then it goes back to 4, then it goes to 2, because Mines Road is not gonna change. We still have a situation with Mines Road. We still have a situation that we still a couple of miles away from 35. And that's the part that I'm gathering, and that's the reason, that's the information that I'm trying to explain here. And I just have to make it public and open about it, because we've had, since 7, I'm going my 8th year in my term, and I've had multiple meetings, just sitting there listening with the city of Laredo. The mayor's been a part of those meetings too, and all of them have said the same thing. I'm not saying anything different than everybody else has said. I'm just trying to get the facts here, because I still don't understand how we're trying to put a round peg in a square hole. I mean, a round peg in a square. I just don't understand how we're trying to fit it in. So I'm just trying to gather information, and if you could tell me that this is all gonna move 100%, by all means, then we need to do that to every bridge. But it's just difficult for me to $16 million with a parking lot over the water. That's what it looks like to me. That's my opinion now.
Yeah, one correction, or possible correction, when you say everyone, everyone that possibly, and I've been in those groups where you've been, Judge, and I know they're very pro 4-5 and not necessarily for the expansion, but I've had, the other groups, and that includes a lot of Mexicans, and Mexican officials as well, that are extremely positive, and they want this expansion to occur. So again, it brings us back to
A lot of interest, a lot of self-interest there. And I haven't brought the 4-5 bridge though. I think we need I don't know why the 4-5 bridge keeps coming out on this particular, because there's nothing to do with the 4-5 bridge.
It has a lot to do with it.
I don't understand how.
Well, it's industry, check with the industry.
But no, right
I see
now,
one or two over there.
I'm dealing with the item of the expansion bridge. It has nothing to do with 4-5 bridge, and it keeps coming up.
Well, the last
And I don't want it
years.
to get convoluted. That's what I don't want.
Well, and.
Right now, I'm speaking of if you want me to speak of the 4-5 bridge, that's a whole different ballgame.
Okay, and that's not on the agenda either, so,
That's
yes.
my
Mayor,
point
if I may,
exactly.
one more
Well,
comment.
I had a couple of questions also.
Oh, yes, sir, go ahead.
So I'm trying to comprehend, you're throwing a lot of information, and obviously the MPO, as far as me, is the first time I'm hearing all this information. The expansion, right, without the expansion, you have 4 lanes one way, 4 lanes the other way, right?
Correct.
And then without TxDOT's completion right now, you have 2 lanes that lead to 1472.
Correct.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I know you mentioned that expanding to 16 total lanes on the bridge won't really bring in more traffic. So what's the purpose? That's one of my questions. What's the purpose of expanding this? Because you're not gonna be bringing traffic faster from Mexico to the port of entry of the United States. Because you're saying it's not gonna make a difference.
By itself. I think the study says by itself, the expansion of World Trade Bridge does not make any difference to the processing time of the throughput of the port.
So then what's the purpose?
Because there are many other projects that are ongoing that
It's in
will
combination
increase
of
the
all the
throughput capacity of the port. There's one study that I'm aware of that I have read more of, which is a study just finished by TxDOT. I believe it's called the Border Transportation Master Plan, which was just adopted by TxDOT, wherein they looked at all the ports of entry up and down the border between Texas and Mexico. And in our preparation of the President's permit application, and don't quote me the exact numbers, but they say that without any further capacity increases and or expansion of the World Trade Bridge, overall, the port of entry and the bridge, that the port of entry at World Trade Bridge will potentially be at capacity within about 7 to 10 years, with expansion that can be increased. And again, please don't quote me the exact numbers that are in the BTMP, but TxDOT spent a lot of time and effort looking up and down the river at all the ports of entry. They did they had multiple meetings here in Laredo and the Valley, on the Mexican side. They worked with the trade. They did more of in my opinion, they did more of an overall study looking at the throughput of the ports, wait times, level of service studies, things of that nature. And that particular study says it is imperative that World Trade Bridge be expanded, fast lane be implemented even more, any other improvements. I think they looked at a lot of the TxDOT improvements that are planned. All of those work hand in hand with each other. Again, don't quote me on that study either, but it did say that expansion of World Trade Bridge was critical.
Because I'm trying to figure out,
Just a reminder that we do have someone signed up for public comments. We do have
Oh,
someone
okay.
signed up.
We
Mr.
have some
Salas.
other people? No, yeah, but go ahead and finish up.
so I'm trying to comprehend
Thank you.
the end game. What is the end game? What are we trying to reach? Are we trying to alleviate Mines Road traffic, which I don't think so? Are we trying to get traffic faster through the port of entries? You're saying not necessarily, but with other components, yes. I'm looking for a simple answer. What's the purpose of this project? At the end of the day, for me at least, in my opinion, if you're not gonna alleviate Mines Road traffic, 1472 traffic leading to not only Laredo southbound or eastbound, but also to 35 northbound, what's the purpose? In simple terms, what is the purpose?
The basic purpose is to improve the processing time of trucks through World Trade Bridge.
Wouldn't the fast lane do that?
Sir,
Wouldn't the fast lanes do that?
they're doing that. They're part of it. Yes, sir.
But then they're gonna get stagnant again once they hit 1472. So you're still gonna have, yes, for port of entry purposes, for CBP or, that sense, of course, you're gonna process faster with the fast lanes in the expansion, but it's still gonna hit the first traffic light whenever you hit 1472, and that's gonna create the same problem or more now because of the expansion. I hope I'm trying to make sense.
I can't get into all the studies that I'm not familiar with beyond the port of entry. I do know that before TxDOT started their project to expand World Trade Bridge, there was the maximum capacity that was processed through World Trade Bridge. I believe it was around 8,250 trucks one way coming northbound in one day, which was quite a record. That was with one lane, because the Wayne motion scale that DPS had been using was still in place at that time. Now, physically, we have 2 lanes that exit. So in theory, although not 100% because everybody's coming to a stop, but in theory, we could process twice as much. But now we're backing into the project, into the port of entry, where we're doing processing time. Now we're going to fast lanes, which will take those fast traffic. I mean, there's multiple projects that are ongoing that will all benefit throughput through the port of entry. They will not affect what happens on Mines Road, and I will agree, I don't know all the details of what's in the plans for that beyond the port of entry.
And that's my major concern. As far as the port of entry, I'm looking beyond that. I know, or correct me if I'm wrong, TxDOT with the city are trying to play catch up with that traffic and get it out quick from 1472. And I'm afraid in my vision, the way I see it is, with this expansion, they're trying to play catch up right now. So you're hoping that their lane's gonna fall into components with what you're saying. But traffic's trying to play catch up with that third lane, and then by itself, yeah, it's gonna help. But now that third lane plus the expansion, it's gonna create the same problem that we have right now, or even worse. That's the way I see it.
We're
Mayor?
assuming to, yeah, I'm
Can I
sorry.
comment when you're done?
Yes, and I think there's another gentleman too, Mr. Zelaya, that wants to talk. Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to make a few comments. So when the traffic comes off of the bridge, it doesn't necessarily have to exit off to Mines Road.
That's what I-
Because
that was the point I was gonna make. So,
it can go straight to 35 or to the loop, or, it goes, free flows. And I think the city was behind on the Way in Motion project, which is what was, the reason why we're kind of choked off there on the weighing, because we only had one way for, one scale for TxDOT to weigh the trucks coming off and all of that. So I think we're a little behind, but I think we're almost done. And then the fast lanes is that not every carrier qualifies for the fast lane. They have to apply, they have to get approved. It's a process on the Mexican side, right? That those companies and our side, that they have to go through. And they have, it's like a joint agreement, but not all of them qualify. So even if we did have all of them fast lanes, then the ones that are not fast lane eligible wouldn't have any way to cross. So we do have to designate non-fast lanes, and I think that's part of the issue. And then we do also have other issues on the bridge that reduce the time as far as people that don't have enough money to pay. And I know that through the Port of Entry Advisory Committee, we've been working out those types of issues where what do you do with a truck when they get there and they don't have the money in the account? Right now, they have to stop everything and make them turn around. That increases traffic and time. So we do have a lot of issues at the bridge that need to be worked out. And there's really not enough room for them to turn around as it is, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, Ms. Limon. So for me, I get the whole idea of the parking lot, but I think that putting effort into what we have right now, improving it, will benefit. And Mines Road is a problem, but not all of this goes to Mines Road. All the efforts that are being made to expand I-69 and the overpass going out, you know, without them having to get off there at the light. All of those improvements have improved the flow, but we still have ways to go. But just wanted to clarify those things.
Thank you. Yeah, one other point of clarification. I know, Judge, and I think we've mentioned taxpayer. Indirectly, maybe some may impact the taxpayer, but it's really the tolls, you know, the people that pay the tolls that those monies are coming from, and some of those could be taxpayers as well. So it's not directly to the taxpayer. It may be indirectly to some of the users of the bridge, but we're using bridge toll money to finance the expansion.
Mayor,
And
sorry,
the fast lanes.
I just wanted to make one more comment. Mr. Milkey, is there any way that you can provide us with some kind of visual for those of us that are visual like learners and having trouble seeing all of this? Can you do some kind of simulation where you can show us like how it would actually look with the trucks moving and with the lanes? I mean, do you guys have that capability?
Do you have?
It can be done, council member. At this point, that I'm gonna have to say that's not part of my scope of services for the city. It can be done. It can definitely be worked up. Can look at multiple parts of the port, entry, exit, the bridge, et cetera, et cetera. So it can be done, yes. It's not part of my scope of services right now.
Yeah, Ms. Limon, could you help us maybe clarify some of the points that have been said, spoke, you know, regarding any, you know, especially the questions that have been raised by the judge and by Commissioner Gonzalez? Yeah.
Excuse me.
Excuse me.
Good afternoon, committee members. Sibet Limon, Bridge Director. Yes, as Mr. Milkey explained, it is all three projects combined, and all the efforts that TxDOT is doing outside of the loop will increase the flow through the port. Now, I can't speak for CBP, but from my experience working there at the bridge, all the trucks that enter the port don't necessarily go straight to the exit. There's processes that happen within the port. So that allows for an even flow to the exit and out onto Loop 20 I-69 West. So as Mr. Milkey explained, with these three projects, our fast lane that is currently under construction, that's only gonna move the CT pad and fast, free and secure trade, fast certified trucks through that area only. The new expansion will allow CBP to process non-fast, non-CT pad cargo shipments. So that is gonna work through the port. The fast is gonna work through the fast. And then when we work on, as Councilmember Perez mentioned, the weigh in motion scales for the northbound traffic, we're gonna work in conjunction with DPS. We worked this many years, and we agreed that they would remove their scale so that TXDOT can do the whitening so that the flow can continue out of the port. And we would share the data from our weigh-in motions. It's all through a computer that they can monitor. So we're gonna share the data with DPS so that they can continue to monitor and enforce their overweight on their corridors.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Mr. Okay. Any other points? I know Mr. Zalaya's been waiting.
I have one point, steering committee members, that I would like to close with, is that we've recommended to the city, and what the city's asking for today, as Mr. Salazar mentioned, we're asking for the project to be listed in the TIP, the local TIP, be listed in the MTP, but also for $1 million be assigned to the project to allow FHWA to be involved in the NEPA clearance. The city's not asking for any more than that $1 million. The rest of it will be funded by the city, and as the mayor mentioned, by the users of the bridge. It will
But
be
yeah, up to $1 million, if we can use less and still qualify, we can use less. Yeah.
Yes, of course, but that's an amount that we believe is a number that FHWA will approve. And that's what we're asking the steering committee to approve today is A, put it into the TIP, B, put it into the MTP, and C, allocate this money that's future money for 2024 to the project, which will allow these other things to occur. The rest of the money, the $16 million, $15 million in this case, in addition, is going to be borne by the city of Laredo through bridge tolls.
The item on the $1 million, that was action taken at the last meeting, so it's not on this agenda. That action was already taken by the policy committee on January 25th to allocate not to exceed $1 million of Category 7 funds towards the project. So right now, all we're considering is the resolution to add the project and all the other amendments on the TIP and to the TIP and to the MCP. That's what we're considering today.
So the funding's been done already. It's been set aside already.
Yes, correct.
Mr. Milkey, if I may ask you, can you just state your name and for the record, who is hired you and who you're consulting for?
My name is Sid Milkey, or Sidney A. Milkey. I'm a professional engineer. I work for Structural Engineering Associates, and we're under contract to the city of Laredo.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ceballos?
Mr. Ceballos, I did give you the courtesy before, and you say we're gonna wait.
Thanks for doing that. So
Just for the record.
Yeah, Judge, thank you very much. So I'll make it brief. I mean, you've discussed a lot of topics. Here to provide, to ask, to support and to ask the committee to, the MPO committee to support resolutions stated as revisions to the 2021-2024 Transportation Improvement Plan. We're in support of particularly A1, 2, 3, and 4 as they affect the Northwest Laredo area, as well as the revision to the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, which is item 4B1, supporting the expansion of the World Trade Bridge. The oversimplification of that study, which you've been discussing, we never agreed with it. I read that report many months ago when it was released. We thought that making that statement oversimplified the expansion and the impact of World Trade Bridge. I think it's been talked through a lot in the last 30 minutes about how everything complements each other. You've got the road widening project that's finishing out. I think that should finish out by June. You're gonna see that off the port. You can't really work with the fast lanes as best as we'd like to unless you build the expansion. So it's completely connected. There was a primary expansion of 5 lanes, I think was a project that's also listed in the report that the judge may have been looking at. So it's all integral, it's all critical. Mr. Milkey mentioned the 25% increase in throughput. We think it's probably gonna be more than that once we compound these improvements. Not all the traffic goes onto Mines Road, but there's also improvements that will happen there. Of course, the super street is being talked about. There's a lot of input that was received on that. Hopefully that gets worked out and designed in a way that everybody sees a benefit for that. I'm there every day, and I work a couple blocks from World Trade Bridge. I know the congestion. So in any case, for this group, we appreciate your support in pushing this expansion project. and look forward to seeing it realized in the near future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Zayas. Anyone else?
Mayor, if I
Yes,
may,
sir.
the border master plan has been talked a lot by Mr. Milky, and certainly, if you have time to read, what is it, 800, 900-page document, it's good reading for late at night. So the major thing about the border master plan, he is correct. It's a list of ideas, not only with the transportation experts in the region, but certainly we're at the point where we're going to start implementing some of the ideas that were presented. One thing that was said was that there are certain components that are going to correlate with others and work together in unison. But I'd like to remind everybody that is a dynamic report, which means we can change it. One of the hardest things as an engineer is to predict traffic, what's going to happen. Kind of like we're sitting here and drilling Mr. Milky on the traffic. Of interest to me would be how it would affect level of service on the 3 lanes of traffic on I-69 coming out of the bridge that we're about constructing. But just to give you a rough idea, once we remove that weight and motion scale on the portion of I-69, traffic almost flew through there at a lot faster capacity. And that's just 2 lanes. Now we're talking 3 lanes. But certainly our interest would be how it would affect the level of service of I-69. Now, the other thing is that there's several components along Mines Road that are happening elsewhere that will affect the direct traffic on Mines Road. Within Chat is a perfect example of that. The Super Street 2 project, thank you, Mr. Valls. I think you're in support of that from what I gathered from your smile, but we're looking forward to that. Bear with us. You are gonna have to go through some construction headaches, but we'll get it done for you. And I guess what I'm trying to say is we're in the process now where we have awarded the contract to a consultant that will start implementing these priorities, these projects that we talked about in the Motor Master Plan, and we will definitely be coming to the MPO meetings as we progress through it, as we start implementing the plan, and getting feedback from the community as, hey, here's the direction that we're going. And again, it's not set in stone. You know, we can see what's going on up there in Uniloy right now. That's fixing to blow up as well, and we just cannot predict where traffic's gonna happen. We can kind of gauge at it. Southern portion of Laredo, we know what's going on down there, Bridge 4-5. Excellent, also part of that Motor Master Plan. So I just want to kind of mention briefly that we are in the process, and Mr. Milky, he is correct, everything complements everything. We do need to look at how it's going to work together, but we are in the process of implementing those plans.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Salazar. Does anyone else? And I think we had opened, I think the judge was saying that we had opened the 4A, 1 through the entire A section, which goes
All the way to 14.
14?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyone else? And if not, is there a motion? Do we need a motion for what now, the end? The tip?
To close the public hearing and accept the revisions to the tip, or approve the resolution.
Oh, okay.
So I'll motion to close public hearings and approve the resolution.
There's a motion, and
Second.
there's a second by Councilmember Perez. Discussion? None heard, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None seen, none heard, motion carries unanimously, thank you. B, receive public testimony and approve resolution number MPO 2022-03, adopting the following proposed revision of the 2022-2045 Metropolitan Transportation Plan, which is the MTP, and that's items 1 through 1 and 2, I believe.
2.
Yeah, right.
So I'll make a motion to open public hearing to include 1 and 2.
Okay, there's a motion to,
Second.
as presented and seconded by Gutierrez, Councilmember Gutierrez, Ruben. Discussion, none heard, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, none heard, motion carries. It's a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak for or against? For or against? For or against? So we need to close and,
Yeah, and just as a note, we need to make sure that the MTP is aligned with the tip, so that's why we bring both items to make the revisions to the tip, and then as well as to the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. So we'll be making the same revisions to that document.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to close public hearing and approve the resolution, letter B, include 1 and 2.
as stated and seconded by Gutierrez?
Yes.
Yes, sir. Discussion. None heard, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None heard, none seen, motion carries unanimously, thank you. Item C, discussion with possible action to cancel the February, is it 16th? I don't have my reading. Yeah, 16th?
So basically this one replaced the 16?
Yeah, that's
Well,
correct.
it's up to the, the
Yeah, and I
committee
spoke
here.
with the chair, Mayor Science, and with Judge Tijerina as well. I think they were both okay with that, but we wanted to bring it to the committee.
Second?
Because of the festivities and all of that, yeah. Okay, there's a motion and a second, a discussion. None heard, those in favor say aye. Any opposed? None heard, motion carries unanimously. Thank you. The next item is VA, a discussion on potential transportation improvement opportunities on the FM 1472 Mines Road within Laredo and Webb County in coordination with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. Yeah, this came about as a result of my conversation with Secretary Mayorkas, DHS Secretary. I had the honor of visiting with them, and of course he asked how, what the needs were in terms of border security and how could we improve things. And of course, one of the areas, one in particular, was the Mines Road. We've spoken to another judge, and some of us here in the past have spoken that there's a potential there to incorporate this Mines Road that ties the Eagle Pass Border Patrol sector with the Webb County or the Laredo Border Patrol sector together, and it hugs the river, and it would serve as a border security road. And he really liked the idea, and he said that he was going to try to, see which ways, he was going to visit with people. So, he's pushing from that end, and I was hoping maybe us here locally, we could push from our end and continue this, especially now with the Biden administration. I think there's a willingness to do things a little different, by way of a virtual border security, so to speak, and the road components are vital to that. So I'm just throwing it out there. Maybe there's not much out there, but I do have, text out people, and I have some other folks here that possibly would have, some ideas as to how we can latch on to whatever funds are out there.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Is it like part of this plan that the road could be used by passenger vehicles, or this is
Yeah,
just
both.
off-road?
No, I would say just connecting or extending the improvements or whatever improvements we have by way of pavement, all the way to Eagle Pass. And that's, we'll see. This is what prompted that conversation. We need about half, or at least a good, about half more or less, and I guess other people would know, is currently paid, but the other half, or that remaining portion that leads into Eagle Pass, is not paid. And that's what I think would serve us as a community to have access to that, by way of that. And of course, eventually it'll connect to the I-27 corridor. And of course, we've been pushing by way of this I-27 corridor to make this happen, this Mines Road improvement. And so now, if we add the border security component to it, it opens up, more opportunities, and especially now we have the year, or at least it appeared very much to me that the secretary was extremely interested in doing something, with that road. So I just throw it out there, the public, whoever's watching, if we do visit with people, influential people in Washington, if we can bring this topic, on board, on agendas and conversations, maybe when you all visit with the Washington folks as well, Commissioner, just kind of keep pushing that, and hopefully, and cite this conversation that I had with the secretary, just to remind folks that at least we had his attention and willingness to do something with the Mines Road.
Well, Mayor, do you need like an action, like maybe setting up a meeting in the next week or two to get something kind of solidified?
Well, ideally, it's our Congress people, Congressman Cuella, and of course our senators. And I know we've mentioned that to them, but I think maybe just when we do the legislative visits with Washington folks, we can, even with the Texas people, I know Texas in the past has had at least some interest with this I-27 to kind of do this, but, we've been waiting you know, it's like an alternative route once we get the other route improved.
Mayor, just, I mean, you can include us in any of those meetings. I know that we've had discussions with CBP as well, DHS, along those same lines. I know it's not a new project, but, you know, certainly we would want to be at those meetings.
Okay, yeah, he mentioned you all too. So so the fact that you also have his here, you know, just continue, and I would ask for the sake of the community to hopefully, you know, we can get that road
Well,
fixed
Mayor,
up.
can we actually schedule like a meeting with like Mr. Ceballos and all the stakeholders? Where we can maybe draft up a resolution and a list of, you know, where we can kind of make this a
Sure.
little more solid,
Maybe,
in the next.
We had added this
maybe
as,
separate resolutions, the county and the
Yeah,
city,
we can
and kind of,
Show support. and
on the MPO side, we had added this as discussion only item, just because like I had mentioned to the mayor on this item specifically when you're talking about FN 1472, north of of Camino Colombia, it's already outside the MPO boundary. Of course, this is a good forum to bring it up, to discuss this, since there's several different partners in the room, but I'm not actually sure what action of any of the MPO policy committee could
you know,
take
but
right
also
now.
too, if we can get the Eagle Pass folks, and I can play some phone calls, maybe the judge or two, an Eagle Pass, we can make a joint resolution.
Mayor, if I may, this project continues to come up, and unfortunately, this route it's a viable route. I think it's a route that definitely needs to be looked at. You know, we do have the portion plane, unfortunately, because of the way the House bill was written, you understand that we have to stick to existing roadways. Now, the first step in this route would be a feasibility study. What's included in that feasibility study is, you know, we all want this road, but we actually have to look at it. Is it feasible? Are we going to benefit from it? That's the first step. Now, it is 44 to.
Excuse me, hold that thought, but are we benefiting it from a border security standpoint, or just a transportation?
That's what would be in that feasibility study, and that would be a big part of it, whether it would be used by Homeland Security, whether it be traveling public. But that's the first step. There's a lot of interest from the folks in Eagle Pass as well. So the initial step would be that feasibility study, and maybe that's where maybe you can join forces with Maverick County or the city of Eagle Pass, and reach out and see if this can be done. You know, a lot of that comes out of the feasibility study. Again, we all think that we want this road, but is it really feasible to get that done? That's what this feasibility study is gonna determine. And then you can go on and look at the construction and whatnot after that point. Now, what we have is a very rough Google map picture of it, and we're estimating between $300 and $500 million total construction, depending on the amount of bridges that are out there, and we're talking about a 2-lane road. So it's quite a bit. The other thing is that you'd have to talk to the landowners. Are they wanting this road? Are they going to benefit from this road? And I'll leave it at that without getting into Homeland Security concerns or issues or opinions on that. But definitely buy-in from the local folks. I understand that you as a mayor and the mayor of Eagle Pass would want to connect to communities. It's great. But you are going to be coming through some properties, and getting complete buy-in from those folks would be an initial step. But I think at this point, if we're opening up for discussion, a feasibility study is the way to go. And getting with the folks from Maverick or Eagle Pass and maybe joint venturing and who's gonna do it, would be the initial steps on this is a feasible route that we can be looking for in the future and perhaps plan in the future. But at this point, to sit here and say, hey, we need to do this, and I understand Homeland Security, and I don't wanna get into that discussion, it's been talked about enough. But again, I think the initial intent would be to reach out to those folks and get complete buy-in from those communities that are gonna get affected by that, and venture out and commit to a feasibility study.
So would you agree that maybe a joint resolution, city, county, and mirror that over there in Maverick? And then.
I think a good faith effort meeting with entities from that area would be good as a start, and see where we're at.
Okay, we'll reach out, maybe the judge and you all can reach out as well,
Mayor,
and we can have an agenda item at the city council.
yeah,
And that's your area. Yeah.
I was gonna say, maybe we should motion to kind of, I mean, not right now, but like look at getting a coalition going, stakeholders that
Border
can
Patrol in
join,
particular,
and
right?
so they could go, it could be ongoing beyond us, because I
Right.
think this keeps coming up and dying and stuff, so maybe form some kind of coalition, and then like you said, a resolution and maybe ask the Department of Homeland Security to provide the funding for the feasibility study and ask them for that, and then we can work on getting the coalition built.
So would that fall under council and county do the same? Because can we do it here, Mr. Mendiva? I think you said it's out of our scope.
I think it's outside of our
We only
scope.
cover half
So
of
then,
it, yeah.
then let's try to see if we can work something together, counterparts, and
It's outside of scope of the MPO. You are correct.
Okay. Okay, yeah, we'll start with an agenda item for the city, and hopefully you all can carry that as well. Okay, thank you very much. No action at this point. Okay, no other reports? I guess that's, yeah, do we have a motion to adjourn?
so
So moved by Commissioner Gonzalez and seconded by Councilmember Pettis. Discussion, not heard, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None heard, motion carries unanimously, thank you. Yeah, good to see you, Commissioner.
Yeah.